Well, we welcome you. It is 5 p.m. somewhere, and so we're going to begin tonight's version of the Redox 5. Please come in, as I said, and let us know where you're coming from. We enjoy your comments through the course of this. My name is Dr. Lee Osler. I am a dentist in the state of Washington in the United States, and I'm joined with my co-host, Jim Glenn, who is in San Antonio. And I'm not sure where Ann is, but normally we've got Ann by your side. But
yeah, Ann is with her father right now, so she's doing her daughter duty, which is pretty phenomenal. So yeah, she's with her father right now. Thanks.
So we have this is actually going to be the Redox 5 then, or Redox 4, I should say. Dr. Ray Dixon is sitting in Phuket, Thailand, and comes to us as an illustrious diamond in ASEA in the Southeast Asia area. Dr. Dick Walker, a physician now retired in Spokane, Washington, will also be with us. And we will be discussing some important things tonight. We've got a little bit of news tonight, or some things that are breaking publicly with notoriety, so we'll speak to that. We want to begin with a disclaimer. However, we are all associates, distributors for a company called ASEA Global, marketing a cellular health supplement, and as such, we make no claims to diagnose, treat, or cure any disease. We will not use specific names tonight that relate diagnoses or medical diseases by name to any of our discussions tonight. We will be talking about cellular health and what we call a redox lifestyle. So let us begin. Let's start with Dr. Walker. Dr. Walker, as I said, is a physician. He also has a master's, as I recall, in nutrition. So he's been around 2 or 3 different racetracks in his career, and understands some things that many physicians don't with regards to nutrition and lifestyle. So, Dick, let's start with you tonight. Maybe you could just kind of introduce yourself, what I left out, and talk about what caught your attention with ASEA. There's a lot of people here, and maybe as you do, you could make a brief comment about what it is we're talking about.
Sure, absolutely. My background, up until a certain point was pretty standard pre-med, and then into medical school. Actually, before that, I was aiming at veterinary medicine. I grew up on a farm. I loved science. And then I actually got into veterinary school and then had a change of heart and decided I'd rather apply all of that training and education to people and help people stay healthy and regain their health. And so I really, I spent a lot of time in college getting educated, and then finally got out and started working with people and really enjoyed it. I was an emergency physician. My background was internal medicine. I also was board certified in emergency medicine, which is how I practiced most of my career. And I do have a degree in preventive medicine and a minor in nutrition, a master's degree. I could have gotten a PhD, but I just really didn't want to slow down long enough to write a thesis, which was the only difference between a master's and a PhD. But I wanted to get to work. I was kind of getting tired of learning and wanted to put it into practice. And I decided to get the master's degree in prevention because I was starting to figure out that medicine really wasn't oriented towards prevention as much as I thought it should be. And it was a little bit too much for condition A. You do treatment A. For condition B, you do treatment B. It wasn't very individualized. And so I really enjoyed the pace of the emergency room, and I enjoyed the excitement. I enjoyed the challenge, because you never knew what was going to come through the door next, whether it was a knife wound, a gunshot, or a kid with a sore throat. It was really varied. But on the side, I started to gather a following of people who were just failures of the medical system. They had conditions that they had tried everything that was standard treatment, probably tried some alternatives, and they just weren't getting the kind of results that they wanted. And really, it was in that realm that I bumped into ASEA Redox. I also bumped into it because at the time I was in my mid 60s, and my body was starting to tell me that I couldn't do the kinds of physical activities that I'd done during my life. I've been on several mountaineering expeditions to 8,000-meter peaks. I got within a whisker of summiting on Mount Everest and turned around because I didn't think we'd get down alive if we didn't, because of various conditions on that route. But I've done a lot of crazy things like that, and my body was up to it. My body was up to that challenge. But at 64, it was starting to say, yeah, you may not be able to do that kind of stuff, Dick, at least at the intensity that you've been doing it. I didn't like that answer. So I started to look around for some technology, something in the nutritional supplement area that perhaps might help me maintain that. This was before ASEA even came along, but it led me to an understanding of the beginning science of redox biology, and then eventually that led me to ASEA when I finally realized there actually was a company with a redox signaling supplement, cellular communication supplement. And once I convinced myself that they really did have something that had merit, that could really help our body's innate ability to heal itself, I got really interested and became an associate. And I started to recommend it to a lot of these people who had sort of at the end of their rope. Their conditions weren't improving significantly or as much as they would like, and a lot of them started to improve. And again, ASEA doesn't cure, heal, or treat anything. What it does is really, really improve our body's ability to access those programs that are there, programmed into our DNA, programmed into our cells' ability to fix and repair or replace themselves. And that's really the foundation for why this product is so beneficial. It also helps our body to deal with stress. You can't ignore stress. You can't avoid stress, but you can, to some degree, manage it and become more resilient to stress. And that's really an important part of what ASEA does. The other thing that ASEA seems to do very effectively, aging and most disease is caused to a great deal by inflammation. And I mean inflammation at the cellular level, oxidative stress. That's really a major factor in every chronic and degenerative disease. It's a major factor in people not healing as well as they can. And ASEA seems to really provide a great benefit there. It doesn't replace a healthy lifestyle. You still should be exercising. You still should be paying attention to getting enough sleep, high quality sleep, and nutrition, basic nutrition, in addition to supplements is super, super important. So, that's where I come from, is prevention, wellness, natural, helping people's bodies at the cellular level to fix and repair cells or replace them with healthy cells. So,
hey, Dick, real quick, when you got your master's in nutrition prevention, was that before or after medical school?
It was during my medical school. I took a sabbatical. I took a year's leave, so I graduated actually with the class behind me, because I stepped out of medical school and went into a doctoral program, and that's where I got my master's degree. And then I went back and finished medical school. At that point, I wasn't sure if I wanted to be a researcher or not. I thought I might. Okay. And then decided that I would rather be a clinician. So. And
when did your nutrition specialty kick in? When did you do the nutrition?
It was part of that master's degree. It was courses during that time.
Okay, so how much of your in medical school, how much nutrition is taught? If you had not done your other program, how much time as a doctor do doctors spend on talking about nutrition?
Unless they elect, because there's some elective time where you can elect to take certain courses. Unless you elect to take certain courses, I would say when I was in medical school, it was really only a couple of hours. They did not concentrate on nutrition. That wasn't a big concentration.
And have you seen that? You've talked to other doctors getting out of school. Have you seen that pattern change much?
I don't know that it's changed very much unless individual students have elected to take more courses in that direction, because the medical curriculum is super crowded. I mean, there's
So much.
different subspecialties are just trying to get more of your time. I mean, it's very crowded. There's only 24 hours in a day, and you can only learn so much and spend so much time in class. But I would say that may or I doubt if it's changed very much, Jim.
Okay. Well,
So let me ask a follow-up right there. You mentioned that, and another time we spoke, that you had heard about redox or redox cell biology before ASEA came along. Was that a function of what you and Jim were just discussing with regards to that exposure? Were you exposed to that in medical school, or was that after?
That was after. That was on my own when I was looking for. I was starting to look for things I thought that might be anti-aging, things that might help slow down the aging process and help me. Is really a personal search for up and coming technologies that they thought might be of benefit.
So I was kind of hoping that you were going to say something like, "Yeah, we can expect that every doctor out there knows about this."
They may now, but I was probably the only one that knew about it. And I didn't know about it really in medical school. I discovered this later.
Okay. Well, that's what when I graduated from school, they said, you don't know very much, but you do have a license to learn now. We expect you to keep learning. So that was always stuck in the back. Let's turn over to Dr. Ray.
I want to ask one last question with Dick. Dick, with the prevention degree, how much of their prevention had to do with nutrition?
Maybe 20%.
Okay.
Maybe.
So a significant part.
Yeah, I would say. Yep.
Okay, then
But it was
it
was not nutrition in the sense that we talk about cell performance and that kind of stuff. It was mostly macronutrition.
Explain that. What does that mean?
It's fats, proteins, which of those were good, which of those were bad, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm.
There's an interesting thing in the medical arena. I remember looking in a newspaper one time in my local town. A big half-a-page display was actually an advertisement from the local hospital, but prevention was the headline, and it was about mammography. So if women would get mammograms, it would prevent. And I'm looking at that and saying, well, if you can see it in a mammogram, you're not preventing anything. And so there's this paradigm shift. And so there's it's an interesting stumbling block in people's thinking that prevention means not what we're talking about. You know, maybe you prevent it from getting worse because you caught it early, but that's like saying that a dental X-ray prevents tooth decay.
Yeah, early detection is not prevention. Early detection will improve outcomes because the sooner you know you have a problem, the sooner you start a treatment regimen, the better the outcome. Usually, not always, but usually. But that is not prevention.
So let's segue to Dr. Ray, because with that thought in mind, you know, that Dr. Ray is a master at this. He's a chiropractor by training. He's a naturopath. He has, you know, herbs and supplements a mile long in his experience here. And maybe you could do what Dr. Walker did, introduce yourself, kind of what brought you to this, and maybe you could, in explaining your take on this, go a little deeper into that idea that prevention is not early detection, and tell us what prevention really means.
Let me say one more thing on that. I thought seriously, but my resources and my family would have really gotten upset if I decided to get another degree. But I thought seriously about getting a naturopathic degree as well. And I've got the the primary textbook, one of the big textbook that naturopaths use, on my shelf. I'm looking at it right there, and it's well used. Yeah, I just wanted to add that, but yeah.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you once again for having me share the platform with the esteemed guests that are here, or perhaps I'm the guest and you're regular. So thanks, Jim and Lee and Dr. Dick. Look, my background, as Lee said, is a naturopath chiropractor. Now, when I was 18, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I just knew I wasn't happy the way things were in the world. I didn't know what to do or become. I had asthma. I read about yoga. To this day, I can't remember where that book came from. I picked up a book. I went to do yoga. Her husband was a naturopath chiropractor, loved the yoga. So you can already see a shift into a different kind of world and lifestyle here. This is back in 1973, sorry. So it's a long time ago. Secret women's business was yoga back then. No men were doing it in Australia, Melbourne. So he cured my asthma, literally. She said he would, he did. So I didn't know what a naturopath chiropractor was. She explained that to me. Natural healing, natural medicine, that all sounded good to a latter tail hippie that I was, with hair down on my backside. So I did all that. I changed my diet. I changed my lifestyle. I took supplements. There was herbal treatments. There were supplements. There was a change in diet to get off dairy products. I had mucus coming out of my ears and my sinuses, and I was detoxing, and this was all explained to me. And within months, it was completely gone, and I've never had it since. So that set the trajectory for me. I wanted to do what he did. So 74, I entered naturopathic college. They taught as an elective osteopathy there. I graduated. 77 osteopathy, 78 naturopathy, naturopathic.
Hey, Ray, real quick. Ray, real quick, explain what those are, please. You've already lost me.
Naturopathic medicine is two-sided. There's two components. There's nutritional medicine and there's herbal medicine. So any naturopath has to do two disciplines. So the standard two is nutrition, diet, and separately herbal medicine. Now, in my case, naturopathy then was very specific to Western herbal medicine. Now it's become a lot more eclectic, and you've got Eastern and Chinese herbs included in the studies, etc. But back then it was very much Western herbal medicine. And of course, osteopathy, chiropractic are manipulative practices or modalities. They develop separately, but along similar lines. Now, I might get accused of confusing philosophies here, but I studied both, and I studied the founders of both, D.D. Palmer and Still. But they, interestingly enough, they developed around similar times. Those two lived at the same time, approximately. But they developed as manipulative practices on the musculoskeletal system, based on removing minor subluxations. I shouldn't say minor, but subluxations, minor misplacements that are causing issues. They're called osteopathic lesions to the osteopaths, and they're called subluxations to the chiropractors. Same, just a different name. The osteopaths emphasised lymphatic drainage more back then. The chiropractors emphasised nerve performance and behaviour. Working on the same principles. You can't work on subluxations or osteopathic lesions and not affect the lymphatic system and not affect the nervous system. So you can see that that coalition that really exists, which I bridged a long, long time ago. So having graduated, they were registering chiropractors and osteopaths in Australia back then. It was very political. There was a big bun fight. They didn't want naturopaths registered because we were called mixers. And so I went on to do further chiropractic studies because it was an easier route for me to be registered as a chiropractor. And so I graduated in 1982 as a chiropractor, but I was practicing from 1978 with that same gentleman. So I practiced with him for the next 40 plus years. I stopped counting at 40. So my whole world was natural healing, natural medicine. And I applaud Dr. Dick. Dr. Dick is an exceptional person for, in the midst of his med training, takes a year off to become a naturopath. Now, he did become a naturopath, not in the terms of a qualification, but in terms of his philosophy, in terms of looking at the cause of disease and the prevention, which we'll get to in a moment. So his focus began in med school. That is extraordinary for those times, and certainly was not common. And it isn't common today, although it is increasingly more common. I just got back from a health and anti-aging medical conference in Bangkok, where there was 500 plus MD specialists, and it was all integrated. It was all functional. No drugs discussed, barely mentioned. So that was my background. I lived and breathed it. Of course, we still had the yoga school, so I was a yoga teacher for a while in that yoga school as well. So my whole world was natural healing, natural medicine. I was obviously therefore programmed into the cause of disease is toxemia and enervation. Have you heard that before, Jim? Toxemia are toxic toxins, and enervation, depletion of your nervous system and your energy through whatever cause. So they were the fundamentals of natural healing medicine philosophy. So I was always on the lookout. You notice Dick went where Dick went because he had a question mark. Where's the prevention here? Where's the real why? How deep do we need to go to understand sickness, disease, and healing? And if you don't go deep enough, you don't get where Dick got or where I got. We just came in from different angles. But look where we've landed, exactly in the same place. And we'll talk more about redox shortly. Prevention begins when you're healthy. That's when prevention begins. Prevention doesn't begin when you're sick. Prevention is maintaining your wellness. It's maintaining your health. That's what real prevention is. And that's when real prevention begins. The problem is most people, because of the world in which we live, don't think about their wellness or health until they're sick. So that's the problem. So people start paying attention to their physicality and their physical health when something is compromised, when their energy is dropping, they're getting too many headaches, they're getting too many skin or allergic problems or autoimmune problems. They're sick. So that's when they go through the programming in the allopathic orthodox medical system to the doctor. Unfortunately, as has been well portrayed here and elsewhere, it's everywhere if you really want to look, they then get symptom treatments, signs and symptom treatments to manage their disease condition. Please note, manage does not mean heal. Okay, there's no healing in management for the most part. It means just regulating your degree of suffering. And through that journey, you then become dependent on a whole lot of medications. Now, Lee mentioned before about paradigm shifts in the use of words. I would have thought, if you look up the definition, the pure definition of medication, that it was something to heal. That's been completely twisted and turned around. If you look, I did a Google search a couple of years ago. I just thought, let me just do this, because you assume you know things until you sometimes revisit it. And I did a Google search on medication, and the first 3 pages was drugs. I had to go 3-4 pages in before herbal medicine came up or other nutriceutical medications. It was buried so deep. That is extremely telling. Back to you, Lee.
Well, thanks, Ray. You know, that was a good segue from Dick to you and talking about that prevention is upstream to healing. That's a paradigm, and I know that we get the question a lot of will ASEA work on this, that, X, Y, or Z? And that's a really difficult one to address sometimes because of that paradigm. Dick, could you comment on that? Does this work? Will it fix this, that, or the other?
If we don't mind, can we go ahead and do just the basics? What are we talking about? What are we here? What are the, either Lee or Dick, what are these redox saltwater-based products?
That's a great idea. I think Lee needs some talk time here because he's written several books about this whole thing.
But now, Lee, keep it to where I can understand it.
No, go loose, cut loose.
That's the challenge.
That is the challenge, isn't it?
It is.
Be nice, Lee. Be nice, Dr. Walker.
Thank you. Thank you for that cue up. Redox signaling or redox cell biology is an important concept that predates everybody. I think it predates dirt. It's about the movement of electrons. When we talk about signaling or communication in the biophysical world or the biophysics world, we're really talking about what happens to little packets of electricity or energy that move from one molecule to the next molecule. And if you step back and say, well, what are these principles of physics that are at play here? Very much it's about electrostatic attraction and repulsion. The north poles of a magnet, if you put them together, they repel each other, but the north and south, there's a magnetic attraction between those opposites. The same thing with electrical currents and how they move. And so proteins in our body gain their function and become functional because of the assortment of charges that are distributed along. Think of the spaghetti strand of a protein. The amino acids that are lined up on it have respective negative and positive charges that allow it to fold together into a certain shape that then gives that protein its function. And you can say, well, maybe that's getting too deep, but that's exactly how glutathione works. That's the master antioxidant protein in the body, and it becomes functional because of the way it folds, the way it's created, the way the DNA produces it based on the coding, right? And then the question is, well, how does the cell know to make that protein? It has to be signaled. It has to be communicated. And that all happens in the body through a very sophisticated yet really conceptually simple idea of when the cell senses or detects that it needs that protein because it's now in an oxidized state and it needs an antioxidant to fix that state, it flips a switch. It flips a redox switch, a redox sensitive switch, meaning an oxidation sensitive switch. All those words are synonyms. And when we only use these words, you can simplify it saying it's just a redox switch that turns on a pathway gene that tells the DNA to use a certain gene to make a certain protein to fix a certain problem that kicked off it all in the first place. And so don't get lost on me. Think of it like it's a thermostat on a wall that detects a change in the ambient environment in your room. It's either hot or cold. You would expect the thermostat to flip a relay or flip a switch that turns on a heater or an air conditioning unit so that it adjusts or moderates the conditions, the ambient conditions in the room back to a balanced, we call it homeostasis state, whereupon the machine turns off because we don't need it anymore. And so that's conceptually kind of the idea inside the cell. We're programmed, we're hardwired, in fact, to be able to respond to stress and to fix it. And that's why we talk about this inner healer, this natural ability. I love Ray's comment about, prevention is, prevention, I wrote it down, prevention begins when you're healthy. It doesn't begin when you're not healthy. So what do we do? What do we have here? We have electrolyzed, meaning energetic molecules that are suspended in saline. It's not the saline that's doing the work here. People look at the bottle and say, why would I want to drink salt water or saline water? That's not what it's about. That's just the carrier liquid that holds these energized molecules in suspension, which we then drink, which cascade through the body, which flips these switches that turns them on in a way to produce a response that is healing, helping, restoring, repairing, putting us back in shape, such that the problem perhaps that was, manifest because they weren't working in the first place becomes ameliorated, becomes moderated, becomes affected in a way that makes it better. But we all have to acknowledge that water has already gone under many of our bridges, and it's kind of hard to make the water go back upstream. So always start where you're at. So I would chip in there, and I'm going to toss it back to you, Dick, to pick up where we were at.
Sure.
But
maybe go ahead, Jim.
Well, I was just going to say, I just want to clarify again what Dr. Osler said. And they have to work. They cannot not work, right, Lee? I mean, that's what you always tell us. It's biochemistry. And that's what's hard for people to understand, Dick. And I would think maybe with your background in medicine, how successful were the medications that were supposed to take away boo-boos when you had a lot of discomfort? Do they work all the time? And versus this, they have to work all the time, correct? I mean, maybe I got a little confusing there with
medicine will always do something. They don't always do what you want them to do, and they also oftentimes do things that you don't want them to do. That's side effects or bad effects. But what I try to explain is that these redox signaling molecules really are about cellular communication, and your body has systems, organized, basic for what they do is in our DNA, but our body has all of these systems that are there to detect problems and then to orchestrate a repair mechanism, a cascading effect of healing and repairing. But without the signaling, without the ability to signal, number one, that there's a problem. Number two, how does that problem get solved? Because the solution is there, but you have to activate, for example, those signaling pathway genes that we showed in the Torrey study that ASEA does indeed contribute to activating a number of those. Alan's example of signaling, he uses the example of your house is on fire and there's a fire company there all ready to come and help you to put the fire out. But if you don't make the telephone call and let them know, then your house burns down. I like to use the analogy of, let's say you cut your finger, and the first thing that you know is, ow, it hurts. Next thing you know is that there's blood seeping from the wound. But then how do you get from there to 10 days from now a well-healed scar after maybe you have to run to the hospital and get some stitches? But how does that all happen? That's cell signaling at a number of different levels. It's number one, hey, we got a problem here. We got cells that have been disrupted. What are we going to do about it? Well, first we've got to staunch the bleeding. Then the immune system has to send in all of these different types of cells that organize the repair process. We've got to make collagen. We've got to make skin cells to heal this whole thing. That is an amazing process when you start thinking about it. And there's so much signaling that goes on at the cellular level to make that happen, to initiate the repair, to complete that repair through the formation of a scar tissue, of a scar. And so that's cell signaling. That's cell signaling at a number of different levels. And these redox signaling molecules are very important at a number of those different levels. Now, when you think about prevention, just think about the fact that there are cells in your body, probably right now, that have the possibility of becoming a cancer cell. But through early detection at the cellular level, not getting a scan of some sort after you've got a mass, but early detection that, hey, there's an abnormal cell here that doesn't belong and shouldn't be allowed to continue to divide and eventually cause a mass, a cancer. So let's just get rid of that cell and let's just replace it with a normal one. There's a lot of signaling that happens just to make that happen. And it's ongoing in your body 24/7 from the moment you're born. And that's just one disease that can happen if there's abnormal or the lack of signaling. So this signaling is going on all the time to keep you healthy, to activate the repair mechanisms, the immune system, to get rid of abnormal cells, to get rid of invaders, foreigns, bacteria, viruses, those sorts of things. And it requires a major amount of signaling. The number of decisions that have to get made at that biochemical level would put a supercomputer to shame. I mean, there's so much information that has to happen, so many decisions that have to happen so quickly in an organized fashion that requires so much information that once you start to understand this stuff, it's mind-boggling when you start to think about it. And Ray and Lee and I have had those kinds of thoughts, and that amazing, how does the body do all of this? And it does require an amazing amount of signaling at the molecular level, actually.
So Ray, let me ask this question. What he just said was, he's talking about that the programming, the coding is there, but what drives that coding? We talk about epigenetics and lifestyle. Could you make a comment about that?
Well, it begins with redox signaling molecules. So the most, at the very pinnacle, as far as modern day science is aware, and it's really right at the interface of the subtle idea of what is energy and matter. So these are nano-sized molecules, these redox signaling molecules. They have no barrier. There's no such thing as a barrier. They can pass through any membrane. It doesn't matter if it's blood-brain barrier, skin, epithelial lining, endothelium of your blood vessels. They can move straight through mere diffusion. And then they can go straight through the cytoplasm of the cell, straight through the membrane of the nucleus, and connect straight to the DNA. So at the highest pinnacle of what drives your wellness and keeps you, that's where prevention begins, remember, is redox signaling molecule. And then downstream, and that's a term I take from you, Dr. Lee, but beyond that downstream, there are nutritional elements. You notice Dr. Dick spent a lot of time talking about protein structures, and so did Dr. Lee particularly, and how a lot of protein structures in the body constitute what you are. There's a myriad of them. All the rage right now in even the integrative functional medicine, is peptides. Well, peptides are proteins. So there's strings of amino acids that you were referring to that are even necessary in creating glutathione, the master antioxidant in the human body. So that's taken me to materials. So you've got that electrical level of electrons, molecules that drive that, which is the redoxone, the redox signaling molecules. Then you've got the requirement of different ideas on numbers, but up to 50 essential nutrients. I mean, water's one. And then you've got your vitamins. Well, you've got the macro, which Dr. Dick mentioned at the beginning. Your macro is your proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. These are essential to human cellular function and health. But there's better fats and there's not so good fats, and there's better carbohydrates and there's not so good carbohydrates. So that's another story for another day. But healthy, basic Mother Nature food is the best way to look at it. So you get your macronutrition. Embedded within healthy macronutrition is micro. And micro is referring to vitamins and minerals, trace minerals. Yeah, enzymes, trace minerals. There's a whole lot of micronutrients that we've all got documented, encapsulated within healthy macro food sources. The problem in the world, and those materials, by the way, in answering your question, Dr. Lee, are essential for cellular health. But the signaling level that drives all of what to do with that, the doctor, the inner doctor, is actually the redox signaling molecules, which is why I was so excited when I finally realized, what redox signaling was. And I got on board with SEER after that. I didn't believe at the beginning the result stories that I was seeing, because they were nothing short of miraculous for me. So it took a while for me to be convinced. But once I was, I got really excited, and I've remained that way ever since July of 2018 when I got involved with SEER. And that can never change now, because I'm involved with those kind of miraculous turnarounds weekly, daily, as we all are on this call. So once you've got your redoxone sorted, and of course we encourage, as we always do, healthier lifestyles with exercise, clean air if you can get it, clean water, and those healthier food sources, then you've got exactly what the body was designed to get to keep you well and prevent any disease or ill health.
I'd like to highlight what you just said, Ray, because I hope people aren't missing what you just stated. Really important. because we are talking about ASEA being a new category in health. And everybody else out there, literally 100% of everybody else out there doing wonderful work. I mean, we even had, breaking this week in the news around the world, a new book, talking about energy, good energy, and so forth. And maybe we'll talk about that more. But literally everybody, 100% of everybody else, is talking about not the electrical energy. They're talking about macro and micro nutrition, and they're talking about the manipulation of lifestyle and the manipulation of behavior. I'm speaking of the way we move and use and breathe our body to affect the electrical. What we're doing as a new category is we're bringing that third level, that third element, if you will, into the picture. And we're saying, yes, you need good macronutrition. You need good micronutrition. You need a clean environment. I call it Redox clean, because if you're Redox poisoned, things aren't going to work really well. And so then we introduce this new category, which is you pointed out, is the electrical. It's the electrostatic aspect of how you manipulate all of these pathways. And so that, I think, is really because we can go into 100 different websites, we can go into 100 different products, and you know what? They're all good. They have a piece of the pie. They all have a piece of the pie, but we're not talking about the pie. We're talking about the foundation to the pie. We're talking about what makes the pie work, you see? And that's what's different.
Yeah, without a functional redox system or level in your body, none of the rest of this stuff works.
We're the pie plate.
Yeah, it's so foundational, and in fact, I suspect I don't read about the origins of life and all that kind of stuff, but I suspect that redox biology had a great deal to do with a milieu of proteins and substrate and everything somehow getting together and forming the processes that cause cells to form and reproduce. Redox has to be a very major factor there. And it continues to be a major factor in us maintaining our health. Why don't you put that, you had that right before we started, you were showing how sick society is. Maybe we ought to, I think people don't understand how much sickness there is out there,
Dick,
and how important this is.
And I'll put up the slide in a second. And when did you start to notice, both of you, well, all three of you, when did you start to notice a significant decline in overall health and wellness? You guys, can you really pinpoint when you noticed that, Dick?
I think it's been there for a long time. I don't know how many times I've told people, you could, we talk about access to healthcare. I call it access to sick care, basically. But and we're always, there's a political argument and a philosophical argument about how easy or how hard it is for people to access the healthcare system. I've always said that you could double, triple, quadruple the healthcare system, the number of doctors, the number of hospitals, the number of clinics, and they would all still be busy, because there is so much sickness and so many problems that.
But why? But why is it getting? My favorite word is worser. Why is it getting worser?
There hasn't been enough emphasis on prevention and staying well. We've built a system that is dependent on treating people, treating the horse after it escapes from the barn. Until people develop symptoms, they don't think about their health, and they need to think about their health long before they develop the symptoms of a disease.
The fundamentals, Jim, the fundamentals are wrong. They're absolutely wrong. We're talking, you want a time frame? Go back 60, 80 years. It's not that long. Go back 60, 80 years, look at what people ate, and then compare a 60, 80 year ago diet, whether it's typical UK, typical American, typical Australian. Compare that diet in terms of its macronutrition, what people were eating, how much they were cooking at home instead of processed foods. You make that comparison, there's your why.
And their lifestyle.
And it should be emphasized that although we say the redoxime is at the peak, driving the inner doctor, this is a figure eight. The redoxime is dependent upon those materials. It is compromised if the materials are not adequate to varying degrees. But one thing not said today, what really compromises your redoxime is toxicity, is your exposure to the toxic soup in which you breathe, drink, and eat, because it's full of toxins. So you're also flooding the body with constant challenges to homeostasis, to the body fighting. I mean, I feel sorry for the body when I think about the cells. I mean, they're struggling to constantly deal with this massive onslaught and insults. Now, they're designed, I'm sure they're not thinking like I am, but they're designed to work on this. But as they're working on it and failing progressively, there is your chronic diseases. That's what they are. It doesn't matter if the malfunctioning collective of cells ends up with a disease called Parkinson's disease or multiple sclerosis. Your body doesn't care what the name is. That's what we give it. But they are struggling collectives of cells that can't perform those normal functions anymore. Combination being lack of nutrition, overloaded with toxins, compromised redoxime, and you go down the gurgle.
Lee, what about you in your practice? Do you notice gum, mouth health deteriorating over the last 40, 50 years?
Yes, and interestingly, I mean, that's a deep rabbit hole that we won't really explore too deeply, but because most of the paradigm, even in dentistry, with regard to that specific topic, is focused on bacteria, which is the toxic element, in the mouth, provoking the inflammation. And the hand in glove part of this conversation that is ubiquitous through all of our conversation is the host side, the host response. The question is the host responding with inflammation, or is the host responding with non-inflammation, meaning it's resilient, it's capable, it's fit. It's like the fireman who's ready to put out the fire quickly. It's adapted. I mean, all these words, they're synonyms that we can kick out there. But this whole concept of lifestyle, why does exercising, which literally hurts you, why is exercise a good, healthy thing? Why is fasting? Why is the removal of glucose from the bloodstream through fasting or a vigorous exercise? Why is that a healthy thing when it's really kind of harmful to the cell? The cell doesn't like that. That creates a bit of oxidative stress in the cell. And the answer is because, back to the programming, our cells were designed to be responsive. But if you're sitting on the couch eating Cheetos and not exercising all the time, you're not pushing the body. You're not challenging the body to be strong and resilient. And so this is the ASEA message. That's why this is a new category. The ASEA message is that we can drink a solution of electrolyzed saline with high energy molecules in it that provoke a mild amount of oxidation in the cell, that provokes the cell, that challenges the cell, that induces a response that is healthy. It's upgrading the health. That's really the bottom line.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put up the extremely scary slide.
It should be said, yeah, these are US statistics, but the West is following all over.
Yeah, I would bet they're not that much different in Australia.
I would agree.
But Dick, this is scary. I mean, 74% of adults are overweight. 50% of children overweight. 50% of American adults are pre-diabetic or already have type 2. I mean, these numbers are horrifying.
They are.
What is doing this?
Well, the diet and the exercise, the teeter-totter between diet and exercise is a big part of it. And certainly, when you look, Ray was talking about our going back, 60, 70, 80 years, we didn't have a lot of overweight people. We didn't have a lot of diabetes, and that's because diet was much healthier. It was not the food that we eat is what I call excessively calorie dense. Processed food has way too many calories per mouthful or per gram or whatever. And so people are consuming way more calories now than they did 30, 40 years ago, maybe even, maybe not that long ago even, because our diet is toxic. And I don't mean toxic in terms of so much toxic elements in there. There are in processed foods, but just the amount of calories that our kids are consuming. And then instead of running around the backyard playing with other kids, playing tag and hide and seek or whatever we used to play when we were kids, they're sitting in front of a computer screen playing a game. And our grandson was just here. Now these kids get on their computer screen and they're playing a game, and they're playing a game with other kids. So they're networking on these games that they're playing. And I'm thinking, wow, we're heading in the wrong direction when our kids that's the thing they prefer to do, is to get in front of an electronic device and play some sort of computer game with their cohorts. When I was young, we were out there playing with kids outside, running around doing stuff,
Also keep in mind, with the ultra processed foods, they're not just so much less nutrition, with some adverse chemicals, as Dr. Dick said. A lot of the inherent use of sugar and fructose is addictive. So, and some would argue, and the good doctors that you mentioned regarding Good Energy book, they certainly argue it very effectively, that these processed foods are engineered to be addictive. Big tobacco moved into the food industry. So, if they're designed to be addictive, well, what is addiction? Well, you're constantly craving more. And so, therefore, it's a vicious cycle. So the only way you're going to break that cycle is someone has to take responsibility. Now, ultimately, I take responsibility for my health. I engineered the body I'm in now at 68 years of age, beginning at 18, when I learned the way, when I was shown the way. So we all on this call are engineering and have engineered, whether you did it willfully or not, we've engineered right where we are. So take personal responsibility and teach your children accordingly and restrict and discipline what they eat, because it all begins way back right from the beginning and from birth. Those bodies are being challenged. Now, I remind you, the body's designed to meet those challenges. Dr. Lee's explained that very well. A stressors is when we use the collective term for challenges to the body. And Dr. Lee and Dr. Dick mentioned exercise, very important, but it is a stressor. But that's a healthy stressor. There are healthy stressors and there are not so healthy stressors. The healthy ones ultimately feed back in a loop to benefit you, to benefit the redoxone, to benefit your health and well-being. The not so healthy stressors, of which we've summarised for you all tonight, with the toxins and the lack of exercise, and as Dr. Dick said, too much sedentary watching and playing games on the mobile phones, etc. Well, they set up the chronic decline. And remember, the biggest issue, the greatest issue I would summarise myself in the world today is chronic diseases. Yeah, you've got longevity, okay, but you're going to be sick a long time throughout that journey, which means suffering. It's fine to keep you alive for as long as possible, as long as you suffer. Then you're drug dependent, you're medication dependent, and it's an absolute downward spiral of suffering, even though you've got longevity. I don't want that. I want longevity with minimal to no suffering, and I've got it. At 68, I have no pain. My blood pressure is 115 on 70. I don't have any known issues, but as Dr. Dick said, I'm sure there's a few cells there which are being challenged, and that's why I do the real prevention from being well. That's why I take 6 cups of redox signaling molecules every day. That's why I take my nutritional supplements every day, because I'm going to maintain that degree of wellness right up until the end.
So, thank you. That was awesome, right? Give people out there hope. We always say we have hope in the bottle and a magic in the gel, Nick. Where I was at 58 years old, I was a lot overweight. I've had a lot of discomfort in my back. I've had 10 back surgeries. I was addicted to pain medication. And when my best friend approached me, I had hope. So is it ever too late to start utilizing these technologies? Is it ever too late to give your body the right food? Is it ever too late to start giving your body exercise? And do you ever just say, enough's enough, I'm done, I'm ready to check out? Or do you just go, if you have the will, we have a way?
Yeah, it's never too late, because those mechanisms that are built in to repair damaged cells, to eliminate cells that can't be repaired, to access the systems that have been there from conception, to keep our body healthy, they're always there. They're just waiting for this right signal, the right stimulus, the right input. If you change your, let's take a really bad habit, smoking, for instance. If you quit smoking, your health improves progressively for years. You never get back to the point where a non-smoker would be, but you can get close to that over a period of years. So that's because your body has an ability to repair. It has an ability to undo damage that may have happened years ago. I mean, we see it when we put Renew on a scar that may have been there for years, and yet the scar starts to go away. It starts to remodel. The body starts to bring in healthy skin cells and get rid of the excessive scarring and that sort of thing. So the body doesn't lose that ability just because you've ignored it or mistreated it for years. I'm 76 years old, and I'm healthier now than I was before I started taking ASEA. And I was already a health nut, so to speak. My mom taught me that. She was a health nut. That's why I probably decided to take a sabbatical and learn more about prevention, because I was brought up in a household where prevention was honored and practiced. Your body never loses that ability. When's the best time to start ASEA? Today. Right now. Start it now. And if you don't start it now, start it tomorrow. But there's never a time where it's a waste of time or effort or money to start on ASEA Redox and cell performance. There's some great ingredients in cell performance that are anti-aging, and to keep us, like Ray said, I'm not interested in living another 10 years if most of those are in a wheelchair, if most of those are in a care facility because I can't take care of myself. We're moving out of our log home, starting a new adventure, probably building another house, because we want to downsize and not spend so much of our time taking care of our property. We want to travel. We want to help people. We want to spread the word about Redox around the world and have more time to do that. And how many other people like Vertus started this company at age 69, and look what he started, and look what he got done, and look what's happened with ASEA. We want more time to go out and do stuff, play, do exciting things. We're going to do a river cruise on the Danube River in October. We want to live life and enjoy it and stay healthy so that we can.
Come to Phuket, Dr. Dick.
Yeah, we're thinking about it.
So, Lee, real quick, you bring up, I see your wife in the background. I want to say hi to her. That is absolutely, if you guys knew the story, I don't know where you have that, Lee, but guys, you need to go understand why Dr. Osler, who was not crazy about this, was not crazy about networking, but it's because of that young lady back there. Your life changed, Lee. It's very, very moving. But you mentioned resilience. Could you kind of dig into that just real quick, like in about 10 seconds?
Yeah, 10 seconds, that's the challenge. Resilience is your fitness. Is how capable you are of responding to a challenge, how flat-footed you are, or how able-footed you are. Again, there's many descriptors for that, but it's your capability to I don't know, somebody cough in your face and you don't get sick. It's that list of chronic degenerative diseases. They're non-communicable, those that you listed earlier. That is like 75 to 80% of all disease. That's where the budget, the national treasury is spent, is dealing with those because of inflammation. And inflammation is runaway oxidation.
Resilience is wellness, Jim. It's how well are you?
Yes.
Because there is an optimum amount of wellness. And in that optimum amount, there is a great deal of reserve capacity to deal with these stressors and challenges that Dr. Lee just mentioned. So if someone coughs in your face, why is it that, some people get 6, 8, 10 respiratory tract infections every year and some people get none? Why is that? Is it a lack of exposure? Of course not. We're all exposed to the same amount of challenges and viruses and bacteria. It's the resilience. It is how well are they? How well you are is how well is your immune system? How well is your nervous system? How well are your kidneys functioning? How well is your liver functioning? It is all those elements of wellness. That's what your resilience provides.
So are we telling people that we have hope for these issues?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And Dr. Walker, what is the answer? What will help these solutions? What will help these issues besides a lot of common sense?
Well, ASEA Redox is a great place to start, but also pay attention to what you eat. Pay attention to how much you move your body every day. Pay attention to the fact that you get a good amount of sleep. Pay attention to your lifestyle. But ASEA can really give you a foundation of cellular health and cellular wellness that you just can't get any other way.
Okay. And the other question, Dr. Ray, maybe Lee, is it ever too early? Because you see a lot of these issues have to deal with children, which is offensive. Who can children use this technology?
Well, you could begin, the mum can begin using this technology from conception. So if you're going back into childhood, you go back into being a fetus, you go back into being an embryo. Everything runs on redox. All cells run on redox. So there is no toxicity. There's no allergenicity using the ASEA liquid supplement. So no, it's never too late. And no, you can't take too much, by the way. I've seen some questions on that because once you reach optimum ability for your inner doctor to use the redox that you're taking, you will just remain optimum. Any of the rest just basically goes back to salt water. It doesn't perform any further function at the time. So, but there's no negative effect. And if I can just briefly add, Jim, because we didn't talk about that process of detoxification today when the body is cleansing itself. Just remember when you initiate these kind of changes in lifestyle, whether it's fasting, healthier diet, supplements, redox, the body will cleanse itself. It's part of the reverse journey to that wellness and back to the resilience again. So if you do get a little bit of diarrhea or a bit of a skin rash or all happening, headache in those first early days, do not be concerned in any way. In fact, it is, I always say hallelujah when my people have this happening to them because it's a great sign. It's just managing it, extra water, just let the redox do its work and then move through it and you're going to come out into a whole new world thereafter.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Ray. And I also want to have people go to the, redoxguide.com, redoxguide.com. Dr. Walker, you've got 6 very short, very succinct videos on a lot of common questions. Alan Noble has updated that site. He's updated that video. It has got a world of wonderful information. And again, you got Dr. Walker there going over some of the common things. So with that, Ray, Dr. Walker, obviously, Dr. Lee and your wife, thank you so much for sharing. Now, I do want to go ahead and let y'all know that we will be moving back. Is that the right terminology? We're going back an hour. So next week we'll be on at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, and then adjust it for your time zones. Also, Alan Noble will be doing the first Thursday of the month. He will be doing his Discover ASEA again at that same time frame that we're going to. So 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. So Alan Noble we'll be doing a presentation along with a live testimonial as well. So with that, guys, thank you so much. What a wealth of information, Dr. Ray. Dick Walker, thank you so much. Lee Osler, thank you guys so much. This recording will be available at redoxmatters.com. Dr. Osler has been absolutely awesome in providing that site for us to go to with no connections to anything else but to information on Redox. Wonderful wealth of information and some great videos there with Dr. Walker as well. If you want to get a deep, deep dive, go to redoxmatters.com, go to the video tab, and then go down, and Dr. Walker and Dr. Osler go extremely deep if you want to go that deep into the science. I know it sounds nuts, but the stuff works. Just get on it. So with that, guys, thank you. We will be back next Friday with Dr. Rich Michael. He is the Duke doctor. He's got a wealth of information as well. And so, guys, we thank you. Thank you for joining. We are doing this as a paying it forward ministry. We want the world to know about what we've got. And the way we do that is all we do is just talk and invite. Talk and invite and educate. And that's why we're here to help you. So please bring people to the show every Friday night. New time, 8 Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. God bless. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Thank you again, Dr. Walker and Dr. Ray.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you all. God bless.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.